and stand for a moment of silence for our service folks and the pledge allegiance.
Mr. Mayor, may we also have a moment of silence for the brave men and women of the Ukraine fighting for their lives and their homes?
Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience or online that is looking for something to say this evening? Did you raise your hand, Lisa?
No, but thank you, whoever's sending this, just so we're aware of what's going on in the community. But no, I did not raise my hand, but
Okay,
happy to be here.
is anybody on out there on computer land?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. We'll close public comment and move on to approval of minutes of February 7th, 2022.
I make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by aye. Motion carried. Treasurer's report, item number 2, approval of treasurer's report.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Where we want to get on that?
think you might have reading.
You'll have a little excitement tonight.
Any discussion? No discussion. Approval of treasurer's report, all signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by aye. Motion carried again. All right. Item number 3, public hearing on adoption of an ordinance approving amendments to the Downtown Development Authority Plan.
Motion to open the public hearing, or do we need to set the date and time?
You need to set a date and time.
Okay.
Wait,
So
Motion to make the public hearing at the next scheduled.
hang on, let me just get past this last month's minutes here. Tonight is the public hearing.
Okay. Then motion to open the public hearing.
motion second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is open. Is there anyone that has anything to say? We have no one on line, so,
No, there's still no one.
pardon?
No
There's
one,
still
Okay.
no one.
Does council members have anything as far as the ordinance that they want to say? Basically, this public hearing is just for what changes need to be done for the DDA plan.
It's pretty well covered. All read.
If there's no comments, I'll take a motion to close it.
So moved.
Motion and second.
Second.
Fred Lyman, listen to it. So. All right, so the public hearing is closed. Or no, we need to vote on it, sorry. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor to close the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed likewise. Motion carried to close the public hearing. Now, do we have to do anything with it beyond that? It's all set.
no, so now that just was the public hearing so that we can do all the official notifications that we have to
Okay.
do. So there's more steps, but that was the
We're getting
first, was just to get feedback on the plan.
Okay,
So we don't need a motion to adopt amendments tonight.
Not to that, no.
Okay.
all right. I guess we'll move on to number 4 on the agenda then, the approval of street closure springtime festival, May 26th to the 30th. Did that ever get confirmed, Paula?
Cassie,
Nope, we never heard from anyone. That's why there's the asterisk at the bottom there.
Okay,
so, yeah, I sent out an email.
and I personally talked to him,
So
and no one still got back to me. So
do we want to close like what we normally do and assume that that is correct? Or
we could close what they did last
I mean,
year.
we have time if you
Yeah,
want to just,
or just put it into April.
but it would be nice if they provided us, something more than we don't put on the agenda. I mean,
Or if they have something other than this, they could come to us and
this
have it
is,
changed.
this is what we did last
Mm.
year. And you, as far as you know, nothing,
Nothing's changed as far as I know.
so, I mean, I guess we could do this and then
If we need to change it, change it.
We can make an
then they can
amendment.
bring it to us. I mean, because I sent them this exact language like we always do, so.
Well, what's council's desire? I mean, you want to get it off the table and leave it open for any kind of add-on or takeoff that they may have.
I think we prove it this way and then send an email and tell them if it's not right, that they need to
Yeah.
come to that April meeting.
Yep.
And if they don't come, then
That's what it's
that's what they
gonna be.
get.
That's the best as it gets.
Yep.
So,
Motion to approve the street closure.
A second.
Second,
Whoever.
Motion and second, other discussion? No discussion? All those in favor of closing the street springtime festival signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by aye. Motion carried. Approval of street closure for Lanesburg Farmers Market.
Make a motion.
Or
Motion and a second to close the street for Farmers Market. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by aye. Motion carried.
Mike, could I ask a quick question? or am I out of
Certainly.
order? Is the farmer's market gonna be again on Wednesdays?
yes.
Yeah.
This was confirmed by Dina that they want it closed on Wednesdays from June 1st to October 19th.
That is excellent.
2 to 8, which that just gives time for
Set
setup
up.
and tear down.
Well, that's good for us with the clothesline, because we're always open the same time they are. We work together and she's not here and I'm like, "Eh." Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Item number 6 is introduce consumers energy franchise ordinance and schedule a public hearing.
This came in the mail and apparently every 30 years we have to redo our consumers energy ordinance. And so I trying to figure out what we gotta do. And so I pulled everything that I could out of the charter and it looks like we comply with all of that. So we just have to go through the steps and confirm.
It also, when I read it, basically stated that we're not liable for anything that they have run through in case something happens. So that was good to see that.
Our charter has a section about what these are supposed to entail, and this appears to have it. So, like, 30 years.
motion to hold a public hearing at the next council meeting.
And of course, I couldn't find the old one. 30 years,
Burn down the courthouse.
apparently. Who supported that? I'm
I
sorry.
did.
So a motion and support schedule public hearing for April council meeting.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by aye. We'll have a public hearing in April. Franchise for consumers. Number 7 is approval of resolution 2206 to expend moratorium. And basically, if I understood it right, it's just a continuation of what we already decided to do.
No, it just says that, in our last one, it said unless extended. And so the advice from Connie was to extend it beyond the election. And so I went to January 1st, because that gives you time after the election to make sure everything's in order. A meeting, because you won't have a meeting after the election until December 1st. Other than the first one, you know what I mean? Right after the election, you'll have like a meeting, but then I don't know that that council, you know, if we're gonna know everything we need to know about that, so. That's where the January 1st date come from.
Well, I'd make the motion to extend it. If anyone wants to second it.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve the resolution to extend the moratorium. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
There we go. Fredline,
Yes.
Newcastle,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Easley,
Yes.
Copeland.
Yes. Motion carried. 22-23 budget discussions.
We don't have a lot that's changed. I mean, we really haven't done a lot of work on it. We are rolling up our sleeves this week and have a preliminary budget to you next month. But just have it on there in case somebody had something they wanted to talk about or add or change.
Talk about it at finance, just make sure that your department heads are working on their budget.
Is there more we need to discuss on it, or just wait for the presentation of the packet and so forth? All right, then I guess we shall move on to item number 9, is review the economic development strategy.
Basically, the important part of this is the goals and objectives. And it's already gone to the planning commission and the DDA. And then there's like, for RRC, they require that we look at this annually. So just so that everything is aligned with what our goals and objectives still are for the city and for the DDA and the plan, like, so that everybody kind of is communicating about what our economic thoughts are for moving forward. And the other thing that they talk about is having like a collaborative meeting with the planning commission, the city and the DDA. And that's one of the requirements of our RC. So we kind of thought we could just wrap up the approval of this and have a joint meeting. The DDA said to have it, that they would be in favor of having it with our next council meeting. I don't know if you want to do that or you want to do it as a separate meeting. And then I would think for having all 3 groups, we would want to do it at the fire hall or somewhere larger. Or we wait till summer and have it in the park.
That'd be kind of cool too.
But they do request that we have a joint meeting.
Is it why not?
No, you guys can act on this now. We can, you know, do the joint meeting for something else, or you can look at this for next month. Basically, it's just confirming or, you know, changing anything that doesn't apply anymore. It's still a pretty new document, so I think that we talked through it pretty well at planning commission. Everything seemed to be in line with all of our other plans. So.
Definitely an interesting read on it, with their findings and stuff, with everything else on there. I was kind of shocked with some of it, the information, I guess.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
All we need is a water tower.
Hmm.
Everything will be fine, right?
Right.
According to the plan.
The only one to be here is whoever put it in.
Put the well diggers out of business.
Well, there's plenty of problems related to them too. MSU's finding that out as well. Scouring all the old lakes and it'd be new here, so
yeah.
it's been a headache.
Motion to adopt.
Second,
We have a motion, we have a second to adopt the economic development strategy. Any discussion? Other than what that?
What I just did with that, so I go in the same order, Fredline.
Yeah.
Newcastle,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Geisler. Yes. Oh,
Motion carried to approve economic development strategy to accept it. Item number 10 is consideration of language amendment in yard parking.
So basically, I looked in our book, our code book, and we have nothing on it, so that's why I wanted to see if there was anything prior on it, so we definitely need, I guess, something added in.
So last month when we talked about it, council didn't want to really specifically prohibit homeowners having their own vehicles parked on their lawn. Excuse me. But more of the commercial, bigger commercial vehicles that we're looking at. So the letter that is attached to your packet there includes basically the truck tractors, dump trucks, concrete mixers, semis, and any type of vehicle that is placard from the U.S. Department of Transportation, hazards class 1 through 9. So again, we're looking at the bigger trucks that would park in their yard, which would be prohibited. So we would take off the, I guess, ordinance, any, passenger vehicles or something like that. So we're talking the big motorhome buses, like Dean Trailsways that have more than 16 seats, that type of thing. So depending on what council wants to do with it, we can either table it or we can go for a public hearing on that measure.
have we looked at like Owasso or any of those other ones?
The original one that came from East Lansing, so they're known for the yard parking. So,
Owasso also has that same type of setup too.
so this one is
I didn't know that.
basically, the second draft is, I guess we want to call it, is for the big commercial vehicles. And that's what we don't really want parked on your side yard or your backyard or something of that nature. If you need an example, 219 West Grand River periodically has one parked on.
And then if they park on the street, they can only park on a curb street or like, they just can't park overnight on a curb street, right?
Correct.
What about, can these vehicles park like on the streets that aren't curved?
Well, no, because then it's obstructing traffic. So then we could have an issue with obstructing traffic, and that's another issue that.
So we have
can
that
deal
covered under something else.
with. Yes.
So what do we need here? Because this is not the actual ordinance. This is just a memorandum to the original ordinance, correct?
Right.
Right.
So I would combine the first one that gives the whole definition of what yard parking is, incorporate it with the second one for the bigger, larger commercial vehicles. And then we can set it for a public hearing. So I guess that would be our next step, set it for public hearing. And I will have the language ready to go.
Okay.
For that meeting.
That was the question, how you incorporate this new language into the existing ordinance that we haven't voted on.
Right. So we would put together a outline of what we would have a public hearing on.
So we should probably get that language all right and put in an ordinance first and then introduce it. And then we'll. I think that's what you're thinking, yeah. Any other feedback for Dan before the next meeting, we'll try to get that put together and.
Thank you. All right, well, I guess we'll move on to number 11, which is approval of budget amendments 21 and 22 years.
I'm just starting to, as I look through the budget and I see if we're over budget or gonna be over budget in a number. And so I just make amendments so that we won't be, you have to have budget numbers in compliance with the audit.
So you're looking for a motion to approve the budget amendments?
Mhm.
Okay,
So moved.
we have a motion. I'll make this second. Discussion.
This is just a projection. Correct.
Right, and some of these are actual numbers that were already over budget, you know, and we only have to be within budget within our departments, like to meet the state treasury's requirement, but we often do it by line item so that next year we have a more realistic number of what we budgeted.
Yes, please.
Fredline,
Yes.
Newcastle,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes,
Kiesler,
Yes,
Yes. Approval of budget amendments of 21-22. Approval to pay the bills.
make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and second to pay the bills.
Irving, this one is a
Roll call.
Fredline,
Yes.
Newcastle,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes,
Kiesler,
yes,
Yes. Motion carried to approve to pay the bills. Get my fingers to it here. Committee reports.
I can go real quickly on DPW because there is one action item. And it was just Dave and I, so we agreed on everything at the meeting, which was a good thing. But the one thing that is important is we need to know what we're going to do for movies in the park. We have nobody to run it this year. The one thought that Dave had brought up was to see if we can get a volunteer from the high school because they need to get extra credit for community service now to graduate. If not, somebody from the high school to open it up and let people in town know. But if we don't get a volunteer or pay somebody to do it, there will be no movie in the park this year. So what was council's thoughts on that was bringing it up. I mean, I like Dave's idea first, is open it up to a high school student.
Well, what
I
about,
do think you need an adult there though,
Yeah.
too. I mean, I've been running enough things that in case something happens, I do feel like there should be an adult overseeing that person.
You don't-
I mean, maybe they help.
you don't think we should maybe put something in the paper, do you? For,
Or we could pay somebody, like had been mentioned, maybe $50 a week to take care of it, supervise it, make sure the popcorn's made out there, the movie's running. We just need input on that. That was our only action item. But it's coming up real quick, so
Well, did we, I guess my question is when we lost Jody, did we lose everybody else that works with him?
It was
It
pretty much
wasn't
Jody.
to the best of my knowledge, we have nobody now.
Well, that's a public problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
No movies in the park if they,
that's why we were bringing it up.
right?
You know, should we reach out to the high school, as Dave suggested, see if we can get a volunteer? If not, we can post it, pay somebody $50 a week. If that's a good rate, or something that's agreed upon.
So I know Winterfest, we reached out to them and the kids are very helpful. I just think if you're gonna have popcorn and people making stuff, that there should be also an adult. I don't know if paying them or reaching out to the community first and seeing if there's somebody that wants to do it or whatever is an option, but I don't think I'm comfortable just having kids run it that are in high school.
Well, I look at the kids in high school as a great idea, except for one thing. They're on school break and different ones are gone to vacation all the time, or they're going to football camp or whatever's going on. And all of a sudden, they're trying to scramble to find a replacement for themselves.
So how do we find somebody?
I mean, maybe we put something on our website here, look for volunteers or whatnot for that, or
Do
the
we-
local paper,
Do
or,
we engage Lions Club, DDA, Mark?
Lions Club might be a good idea.
I thought about that too.
Well, who does that?
Well, probably the most direct person to talk to is Arthur. Maybe
Hey, Cassie.
down, you know, but I talked to him this
Oh,
week
she's
about
paying attention.
a bunch of stuff. that
Yeah.
Arthur wanted to do.
I just, if we want some outreach, somebody has to do it. And then
I
if we,
think Cassie has already done some legwork on this.
okay,
But Lions Club is a good idea.
and then if we can't find a volunteer, I think movies in the park are critical, I guess, they have evolved to be critical, and if we have to pay for it, then I think we should pay for it. And I think that the council should empower someone that if we can't find a volunteer to negotiate a contract.
So Jody
So
also
Art-
did sponsorships because there was money that you have to pay to get those movies too. So that'll have to be another thing that's thought about.
And the DDA paid for all the movies last year.
Yeah.
And if we had a point person to reach out to DDA, I'm sure they'd do it again. But we don't have a point person, so. I hate to put more on you guys, but if you guys want to do the outreach, so that we have, at least some heads up that, hey, nobody's out there that wants to volunteer, so. Put an ad in the paper or make some phone calls and draw up a contract, and here's your movies in the park for 18 weeks or 8 weeks or however long it is.
I will tell you that Cassie has done some legwork, but she was kind of waiting for guidance, what the city council wants to do, because we haven't had any guidance on this to this point. So
Where's her legwork at right now?
one of the thoughts was to reach out to the NHS, which would mean not just a high school student, but the group, which would mean that the person who runs the NHS, or maybe someone who runs the FFA, or, Boy Scouts, that leader would take on the role, and then the group would do the movies, which I think would serve us, well, so that we would have a rotation of people that would know how to do it. So last summer, we did have someone work with Jody, so, we have Dave that knows how to run the stuff. My daughter Morgan knows how to run some of the stuff, and then we know how to order the movies, and we know who all the letters were sent to, for contacts and stuff like that. So I guess that's, we were just kind of waiting for, is that what anybody wants, or,
Well, I guess it's been pretty much unanimously decided, it sounds like, that the movies in the park need to stay.
Yep.
And so now what I hear council saying is we want to reach out to the community, see if someone wants to take it on. But if we don't get a volunteer at some point in manner, we may have to pay somebody to do that. And that will be a commitment of 6 weeks for somebody out of their summer, 1 day a week.
And can we come to a consensus on what would be fair to pay them? At least so we know if we need to put an ad out there, what we're saying in it. Because it's gonna be upon us very quickly.
How many hours are involved, David?
For the actual setup, usually it's about 6 hours.
6 hours, including the music or the movie and everything?
That's
Okay.
the setup
Per
for the
movie.
movie and then the movie tear down.
and then we were already doing the posters and stuff, and then we were ordering the supplies from Gordon's, and Jody was picking them up. So I think we could easily add handling the supplies to somebody picking them up. We were already placing the order. So I think it's just a matter of putting it all together. And then, I don't know that any of us want to be at that movie every Wednesday night from, 5 to midnight or whatever it is. I think that's the problem, is
Right.
that,
I already do the music for the park, so
Yeah.
that's like.
and it's the same, it's a long night, and it's so, but I do think that we need to, we could probably get through this year. I think we need to figure out how this is gonna work and play out in the future. So that we build a program that doesn't die if somebody quits. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So,
Well, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now. We don't have it happen again.
right, like if we had a group and then, if the group decided not to do it, it's still, I would think there'd be another group that wants to do it or something for community service or, I mean, even if we were able to allow them to keep the money from the popcorn or whatever, but it's not really a big money maker. It really isn't. It's, I mean, for the 4 or 5 hours worth of work, you're not,
Well, it might be if they have like the drama club or something, and they kind of come into, kind of like the home football games at MSU, they've got groups, Langsberg's there along with other schools,
6 weeks,
and they make money on that stuff with the,
$100 a week to whatever organization wants to run it this week. Does the Brownie Troop want to make $100? Then they run the movie in the park.
And they could sell Girl Scout cookies there too.
Well,
but they can
Point
raise money
being,
for what their cause is.
it costs the city $600 and we're actually donating the
Yep,
money
yep.
to whatever cause would be running. But somebody's got to coordinate that.
correct.
And I'm not gonna.
No, thank you.
So anyway, some ideas.
Well, the Lions Club is a good idea to reach out to.
Friends in the library wants $100, give it to them, have them run the movies, I didn't realize it was 6 hours. I just thought you walked on there and flipped the projector on. So $50, no. $100, yeah.
You're there with Morgan and I, we was there, I usually left about 10 o'clock and Morgan got out about 12:22. So.
Yep. But you gotta have somebody there in case something goes wrong with the sound or something goes wrong with the movie or, somebody to call the police if somebody's acting off.
If we were rolling right now and looking at $100 a night, just out of throwing curiosity out, why not pay David and Morgan to do it?
And if they're running it, they will.
Dave's like, even for $100 a night, I don't really want to do
Well, I'm
that.
sure he don't, but the bottom line of it is, I'm sure he's pretty much got to be here for the movies in case something goes wrong. But that's the only thing I was looking at, is at least you get compensated at that point where you don't get it normally.
I thought about doing it, but I get up too early in the morning.
It's
Be
just something
worth
to
it
toss
anyway.
around, thought wise. Why don't we,
Well, we'll put something together, if that's what you guys want, and bring a proposal next month. And if we have somebody who wants to do it, then we'll even have a better
It'll be
proposal.
even cooler is doing it instead of the Wednesday nights, let's do it a Saturday night or something. Then I'd be more apt to do it. Wouldn't have to go to work in the morning. The next day, be kind of cool too.
Somebody wants to switch it, let me know.
well, that's, everything's up for discussion except for
Except
in
we've already
Lisa's
done our
situation,
ads.
the
Well, I
farmer's
just
market's
want-
what's
I
open.
feel like the Wednesday thing is kind of like, we've got a lot going on, which is great, and people come out Wednesdays. I think
Yeah.
consistency, I think it should stay on Wednesdays, but that's.
We
just
do
my-
already have some ads out with it for Wednesday for this year, because we did those 2 ads already. I mean,
So it'd have to be someone that didn't get up off early the next day to go to work.
yeah.
People already have muscle memory about Wednesday night movie in the park, so I don't think we move it. I just think we pay somebody to run it.
Unless there's somebody really willing and out there that's true blue, wants to do something for the community and they want to volunteer.
You
It
better.
was, I think it's about 3,000 some odd dollars for the movies is what,
Those $600 a piece.
yeah.
I thought they were 450. But I'm just, because
I
my
think some of
sponsorship
them
was
are-
600 and
right,
hers was
so-
But some
450.
of them were more, some of them were
Right, okay.
less, all the movies, it just depends on what.
Which one
movie.
But
Yeah.
then also, depending on the cost, council needs to look at the fact is when you have a sponsorship, if you're gonna have to pay somebody to have them, you could up the sponsorship $25 or something, to help cover those wages. So that would split up over time, but I'm not saying that's the best way to approach anything. I'm just saying that's a way to recoup some costs when you're doing a free movie.
Yeah, well, $600 is a bucket of tar. I mean, we buy a lot more than $600 worth of stuff.
And we have.
And for 6 weeks, I don't care if it's $200 a week. In my opinion, the value that the citizens place on movies in the park could be worth $500 a night for all we know. They love it, and it brings people in from all over, and the kids enjoy it. And after being cooped up in our houses for the last 2 years, I don't care what it costs. It's just my opinion. I don't care what it costs. It is a benefit to the citizens of this community. And they have muscle memory and they'll be looking forward to it.
Well, that's why we wanted to bring it up now, though, because it could
Right.
take a couple months to
Yeah,
bring
well,
this to
once
fruition.
again, who?
Yeah.
So we find out who. I don't care how much the movies cost because DDA is paying for it. So let's just get the infrastructure in place
Well,
to make the event happen.
Don't assume the DDA is paying for
Yeah.
Last year they paid for them all, but before they normally only just paid for one.
it. Right.
Okay.
And they have not approached, I do not believe, of paying for all of them this year, but I'm not saying they wouldn't. They just haven't been asked.
Okay.
Because they're in their budget, they're getting ready for their budget too, so.
Mhm.
So Paula, did you say you've already advertised this for Wednesdays? Is that what I thought?
We do have some advertisements out there, that we have, put, that the Sleepy Hollow advertisement is set. And then the Shiawassee County Visitors Guide is set. We just did those 2 ads, in the last few months.
Okay. And when would those, are they 6 weeks? What are the dates on? Well,
They're normally 6 weeks. It's normally the Wednesday after the 4th of July.
That's what, okay,
That's what we've normally
And
done.
then to like the second
Till
week of August.
before school starts,
She
yeah.
would just count 6 weeks on that.
Gotcha. All
We
right.
used to do more than that, but it really did become cumbersome. So
Okay.
we cut it down to that after the 4th.
Okay, thank you.
I would think that as far as council goes, if they wanted to change the day of the movie in the park, you would actually do some type of survey amongst the people that are in town on Wednesday nights or whatever, watching the movie, if they'd be open to another night or anything like that, but before just switching it, you know what I'm saying? But I say we leave it at Wednesday, we let the staff work at what they've already done. Cassie's already done some stuff. I
I'm
think
looking at-
basically our full thing is we're in support of having movies in the park and we'll do whatever it probably takes for it to happen.
But I'm looking at like Al, saying the Lions Club, well, we got the American Legion, we got the Riders
I
Club.
forgot
and all
about the
them, too.
Legion. There's also the American
I
They
Legion.
think
do
when
a lot
you
of
sit
stuff for-
down and list all the organizations
Yeah.
in the area that you've got more than 6 that might possibly be willing to do that as a
Mhm.
volunteer thing for a community project, and they can do their thing while they're here.
Yep.
If it's SAL, they can advertise their club and have membership to sign people up if that's what they want to do. Who cares?
Motorcycles at the movies.
There we go. There's gonna be a lot of motorcycles this year because the gas at $5 a gallon. Let me tell you, I ain't driving no vet and I'm not driving no 4-wheel drive truck.
So we're doing that for the music in the park. We're asking each community that the American Legion's going, Lions Club, the Recyclers, to showcase their, because I just feel like there's so many great community
And
organizations.
have
And,
all of them jumped in?
so far I have 6.
Okay, see, and those same 6 may
So
want to
sorry,
join
I-
right in with the movies.
Yeah.
You never know.
Right.
It's a different,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we can reach out. I mean, as far as that goes by, I just felt like that, like you said, there's so many great things going on here. And you
You
got
start
people
mentioning
there,
them.
yeah, and showcasing what we have here with the music just made sense.
Okay, so once again, who's gonna do it?
do what?
Find,
Oh,
do the
Sounds like
outreach
me.
to get volunteers. And if we can't get volunteers,
Sounds like
maybe post
Cassie.
it in the paper.
Got it.
Hey, I just wanted a solid answer. I mean, it's fun to talk about, but somebody's got to do the work.
yeah, and fortunately and unfortunately, it's our staff, and that's why we appreciate them so much.
So they have direction from council.
And that's what they were looking for after 15 minutes.
Do we need a motion then from council that to reach out and or just
We would only need a motion, I think, if it gets down to we can't find a
And
volunteer,
then we have to pay
and
somebody
then we have to pay.
to approve the money. That's it for DPW.
All right. Well, then the next one is the library.
So Sandra's taking a, it was one of those grant writing classes. It was free through U of M. And so she's in the process of doing that because she has gotten some little grants in the library over the time. So she saw that as an opportunity. We were awarded a grant for 6 hotspots that are paid for this year, and we worked on the budget. Our biggest thing is that, and I think the most time we spent on was the Friends of the Library. The Friends of the Library have not met for quite some time. And it kind of is an integral part of the library. And so Dean came and we talked about it, and you might have all seen, I made a post on Facebook to try to get some new people to try to help kind of, I mean, we'd like to get back some of the things that we had as far as like during Winterfest, they had the auction, final auction, all these things, you know, take time. We're kind of back in this whole thing where, you know, these people are doing this. with love
So
of the
you're around
community.
project.
Yeah, so we got a few people that did reach out and said they would help, but we really need to, you know, try to get that back up and running. And so that we suggested having some kind of outing, maybe at the amphitheater this year, doing something. So anyway, we discussed that for quite a bit of the meeting. So. And that's about it.
Thank you. Planning Commission, which I guess that would be me, more or less. We just reviewed the economic plan. We scheduled a public hearing for the extra long snow. And,
What was that all about? Exactly, because there's not enough parking there,
Well, it was,
Or the noise or
it
something?
was in the original plan.
right? But it's about the buffering of the,
Yeah, there was a concern over noise when we first approved that, and so one of the thoughts was that after a year, we would review what was going on there.
gotcha.
But then the person that owned the house sold it, correct? That was complaining about the noise.
Right, but it was still already in place to review.
I didn't know if there was an issue or something.
Any
That's why I
input
was
from the
asking.
new homeowner?
Anyway,
Input from the new homeowner who bought the
we'll
property?
do a public hearing and then I guess we'll find out, but.
Yeah, I mean, if they hadn't come to you and said anything, no, they mustn't have any complaints. Is what I was
Not yet.
roundabout.
not to this time,
Not to this time.
like what the planning commission has a public hearing. All right. Finance,
Yeah, we have one action item. It's time to renew the healthcare policy for the city employees this year. Only a 3% increase. In past years, it's been 10%, 11%, and then we start shopping. But this year, it's only 3%, so the recommendation from finance is we renew the contract. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? About renewing the contract for health insurance? With no discussion.
Fredline.
Yes.
Newcastle.
Yes.
Kiesler.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes,
Culpepper.
Yes. Park and Rec Plan, DDA meeting. Remind myself of what we did. The DDA did agree to meet with the city council and planning commission on April 4th at the city council meeting, so they're all up on that. So.
I think it may be better if we do a separate meeting. Just because it's like, it's supposed to be a meeting of its own, like a
Right.
joint meeting to talk about things, and then we have to. Yeah, and so we also have to get the planning commission, so. It might be easier to do either the planning commission's meeting date or the DDA's meeting date, because we have a much larger agenda. So.
Must be true.
Or, like I said, maybe we want to do it in the park, like this summer, and then we could all sit over in the pavilion and be outside and. So,
It works for me, whatever.
okay, I'll keep working on a date
Okay.
for that then.
All right.
Would we need a quorum?
Yeah.
Because I'm on business first week in April.
Just the first
I-
week.
Yeah, so I won't be here.
And she's not gonna be here either.
He won't either.
So we'll just look at maybe trying to do something when we have nice weather and see if we can plan something outside. And we just won't, I don't know if it'll be at a council meeting date. Because I think that it's supposed to be like a meeting, kind of like the FIT was, where we just kind of all meet and talk and, kind
Oh,
of
we'll
do.
have something to talk about with the shade trees and stuff.
I was gonna say, whether lawn chairs, we could sit
Yeah.
over underneath the shade trees.
There you go. So we'll try to plan something
Looking
like
at to
that
come
then.
in, just for us. Chief, do you have anything else you want to put in here besides what you did?
Well, I can do a quick police report and a fire report since Dave's not here. On the police side, only 6 reports last month. We did have 32 traffic stops. 14 traffic tickets issued. 5 of those were for the prohibited left turn from 7:30 to 8. There was also 8 warnings for the prohibited left turn from 7:30 to 8. So I think most of the parents have it now that there's no left turn from 7:30 to 8 in the morning. I did attend the Chiefs Conference in Grand Rapids, which was good. One of the things that they brought out again was the mental health aspect, reference to first responders, reference to critical incident leave. Instead of saying they're on administrative leave, especially if you happen to be involved in a shooting. The big word now is critical incident leave versus administrative leave. So it's all word on play, but it still happens. There was a workshop on workers' comp claims, reference to injuries, and also claims on accidents, that type of thing. There was also a big presentation on a group called First Amendment Auditors. Those are the ones that go out there trying to antagonize police and whatnot. They're filming it. And they basically want to get arrested, and that's how they make their living, by filing lawsuits. As you may have known, there was a couple that were actually downtown Laingsburg here a couple weeks ago. Kind of trying the same thing. Got some of our businesses agitated because they were standing on the sidewalk and filming into the business. But again, that's legal because they're standing on the sidewalk. And they were just trying to get people agitated. So we didn't fall for it. So that and the rain helped. And there was also a big issue, meeting on body worn cameras. We already have ours, so we're ahead of the curve. There's still a lot of agencies out there that don't have body cameras. So that's one benefit that we have, because we also have cameras in the patrol cars as well, which helps. For the fire department, we're currently at 105 runs so far this year. Last month, we did have a big fire on Hibbard Road by Shasburg Road. The Mulder Farm had a large barn with a lot of equipment that burned down, and unfortunately, there was also hay bales. So we did contact DPW, which was able to help us out quite a bit to move some of that stuff around. Unfortunately, we got called back 2 other times because of the hay bales that caught back on fire. But so that was like a 13-hour fire. So we did get that result. One thing I did want to bring up to you is that on the ambulance side, And a little bit on the fire side, we have Acumen that invoices for ambulance calls and so on. And looking like for 2021, we were down approximately $55,000 in our reimbursements. That's been the lowest since going back to 2015. So budget wise, we'll have to look, and hopefully we're not over budget. But we'll be looking at that at our next meeting. But I just wanted to throw that out there that, you know, with COVID, a lot of our calls on the ambulance side were down, but that also then means the collections are down as well. So, and then, so there's different things that we have to look at. So I just wanted to throw that out there so you're aware that there's a little deficit on that going from money coming in from our billing services. Other than that, we're rolling along.
No, so I understand. You're behind on what you should receive, is that what you were saying?
Correct.
Okay. So you're not losing it, you're actually just waiting.
Well, we don't know how much we're waiting on.
Right.
Well, I can tell you that when we closed out 2021, we were 55,000 less than 2020.
Yeah, the good news is business is bad. Get that?
Yeah.
Your ambulance isn't going out to try and save people, but then again, you gotta pay for the ambulance.
Right.
So,
And everyone that works around it, so. All right, I guess that's it, except you, Miss Paula.
I'm good. Just got back from vacation.
Man, I'm gonna send her every time. Sends you every
I
month.
haven't had time to think about it.
I got a question. Any movement on storage units? I mean, we're talking about the parking and the tickets and the school. Anything?
Go ahead. What you got? We actually met today.
We met
so.
today, we just did a preliminary talk through and walk through of all the different things that the school or us in the city could do to make sure possibly that we could get a grant to start with. Maybe like electrical car plugins, having a couple of them put into the parking lot, doing that kind of stuff and talking about that, just throwing ideas out. But it does sound like the school would really like to get moving and take it down the building on the corner. But we don't know that at this point, what their thoughts are, because it's just really getting off the ground.
Good. EV infrastructure.
They're supposed to get with the contractors that they've worked with and then lay out some plans for the layout of the parking lot. They said, what they say, they estimated 60 parking spots in that area.
They're considering possibly moving that back building, using it as storage at the high school. That's
Ron's gonna reach out to you. If you didn't already.
Well, they think it's
Well, it was
hold on
Monday all day
construction,
long.
so cut the corner post and put it on a trailer and move it down to lagoons or wherever, and it still can be used for storage between the school and the city.
If you've got no place to move it.
Yeah,
I know, there were some volunteers
you
already
can
there.
just-
it was already planned to put down there at the lakeside pond down there by my place, you know.
I'm just saying, I got a big, yeah, I got 5 acres.
Yeah, I do too. Adjacent to you.
We've got 3 of the bays used up for storage right now.
Over there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you better save that building.
That's all tables and chairs and.
Does anybody want to go home?
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.